Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope all of you had a great lunch, and now it's time for dessert, right? So we have with us the very sweet and extremely talented Aditi Rao Hydari, one of India's finest actors, and here she is right in front of you, Aditi.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here. And the UK welcomes you again.
I'm always happy to be here.
And despite your woes with the airline, I hope everything is sorted now. She had a travel mishap with our national.
Yes, but I managed, see? Sandhya managed, actually.
Great. So we have, the clock is ticking as we speak. So we have a limited amount of time. Let's start. Before we come to you, Aditi, I have a question for the audience. Now, India and the UK, or the UK and India, if you will, signed a audiovisual co-production treaty in 2008. We are now in 2024. So my question to the audience is, in these years, how many co-productions have India and the UK done together? How many official co-productions have India and the UK done together? And you can give me an answer in round numbers. Anyone? Zero is the correct round number. It is the... Yes, and so there have been many productions where Indian films have shot in the UK, British films have shot in India. They've made use of the rebates available in both countries. For example, two films this year at Cannes, Santosh and Sister Midnight, they both made avail of a 30% and 40% rebate respectively from the Indian government, thanks to the rebates that have been introduced. But the very first India-UK official co-production is a film called Lioness by Kajri Babbar, and it stars Aditi Rao Hydari. And so, Aditi, we won't get into the production side of things. Can you tell us what the film is about and what your role in it is?
I'm going to tell you very little, but I would start by saying I'm so excited and very honored that I'm a part of this. And yes, it's taken way too long, but I'm so happy that it's actually now happening. So Lioness is actually a story about two women, a century apart. So there's me and there's Paige Sandhu. So it's headlined by two women. That's another thing that I feel very happy about. And it's a story about these two women and their lives and how their lives impact each other. It's also about the suffragette movement. And because we're telling a particular story and a particular, and it's sort of delving into a particular life, which I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about. Sophia Duleep Singh, I'll say it.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm the only press here.
Okay, that's right. So because of that, she's kind of woven another story into it, which is more contemporary, well, still period, but more contemporary, about a young girl who lives in, what is it called? What is the Indian part of...
Southall.
Southall, thank you. Sorry. Who lives in Southall, and how her life is impacted by the story of Sophia Duleep Singh. So she's almost the narrator of this story and somebody who sort of actually lives out that story in her own life in many ways. So I thought it was very interesting, and I think it's also very exciting working with a director who almost feels too much for what the story that she is telling. Like sometimes you don't hold her hand and say, it's okay. But it's also very inspiring to see that kind of, passion in telling a story. And I think that's what truly makes a film, that's what makes a film connect with people, actually. I believe that. At least that's the starting point of it, is your intention. So I'm super excited.
Now, coming to your journey, and obviously, I think that's going to start shooting this summer, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So I think in an ideal world, it'll be in Cannes next year, and you'll all get to see the film at the BFI London Film Festival in October, and it'll have a Christmas release.
He's already charted it out.
I mean, that's the normal trajectory for good films, right? So, coming to your journey, we'll come to Heeramandi in a bit. I know everybody wants to talk about Heeramandi, but your journey has been very interesting. You've grew up partly in Hyderabad and in Delhi and in boarding schools.
Yes.
And you have worked in all the, earlier we used to call it regional cinema, which is quite a pejorative term because every cinema is of its own ilk. So you worked in India's various film industries. So tell us, what's the difference between the film industries in, say, Tamil or Telugu? You worked with Mani Ratnam, for example, and what the media likes to call the Hindi language film industry, which is Bollywood.
Yes.
What's the difference? And part two of the question is, has Indian cinema now finally gone national with films from, this year is the year of Malayalam cinema, yes, which are massive hits, 4 or 5 of them now across India. So, yeah.
I love this question. Also because when I was growing up, I didn't see too many movies. It wasn't allowed. And I grew up with a lot of the classical arts. So I learned dance from Leela Samson. My mother sings. I grew up around artists. So that was, there was also read books. Don't sit in front of a television or don't, watch films. But I did see a film called Bombay by Mani Ratnam, and I was so mesmerized. I was like, that's what I want to do. But I never said it. And I do hold my little magical secrets very close to my heart. So the day that I worked with Mani sir, I did a love story with Mani Ratnam. I spoke about this, and I feel like when I was growing up, I come from a family that told a lot of stories. Like I said, there were so many books around us. And I'm saying this because I think it's really impacted the way that I think and the choices that I've made. Because I've never looked at cinema as belonging to a particular region. I think cinema is a connection of hearts, actually. It's how I make you feel. And I can make you feel in any language. I can make you feel without language. I can make you feel by just being here, by how you respond to me or respond to how it is that I look at you, etc. And so I've always believed that. And in films is about telling stories, and stories don't have language. They're literally about how they make you feel and what kind of creative journey that it sparks in your head. Because when I tell you a story, you will imagine all kinds of things, as will I and as will you, and everybody will have a different kind of imagination, and films do that. It's somebody's imagination that we then share with the world. So I've always believed that about films, and I never ever thought that I'm doing a Tamil film or a Telugu film or a Malayalam film or a Hindi film, and I never held one above the other. For me, it's always been a director, because I feel it's like when my grandmother tells me a story, she's the person who's taking me into that world, and that's what a director does. They take me into a world, even as an actor. And as an actor, it is my job to have the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
It is my job to make that happen for you, and for you to then immerse yourself in the world that we are all creating together. And so I'm so happy that today, slowly, a step at a time, because the so-called regional films are actually being celebrated because they are great films, and because there are so many great directors and so many great voices of storytelling in our country, and we are also such a diverse and syncretic country. Mostly syncretic. And I think all those voices are now being heard, and I think that's wonderful to celebrate that together. And so I'm an Indian film actor, and that is, and today, even if somebody makes a film in Spanish, if I love the director and if I love his intention or her intention, and I think that's where it starts. It's your intention. What is the intention for me to be telling this story? What do I want to do when I tell this story? And what is it? It's a connection. I want to sit in your heart and I want to go home with you. And I can do that in any language. And that's what I want to do. And I think that's what's happening, a step at a time, but it is happening.
And a perfect example of that is Heeramandi, because Heeramandi is obviously an Indian production produced by Netflix. It's in Hindi, Urdu, Hindi and Punjabi. Yet amongst the Netflix global top 10. It's been consistently in the top 10. We are now at the end of June.
Yeah.
From the time it debuted on the 1st of May.
Yes.
So, and it says, you talked about cinema transcending national borders, and here Heeramandi is transcending
Global,
international
yes,
borders.
yes.
So, very quickly, and you also spoke about directors, and here you worked with Sanjay Leela Bhansali, who's obviously considered an author.
Yes.
So, what was the experience of working? More importantly, what's the prep of working with SLB? Because he is known to be a very hard taskmaster.
Can I start by saying that he's actually hardest on himself. He's very hard on himself. He will not rest. He will pace up and down like a caged tiger till he gets his shot. And he wants to create magic in every single moment that he captures on camera. And I think for that he pushes himself first. And honestly, as a, again, maybe it's my upbringing, maybe it's the fact that I have had a guru since I was 5 years old, a dance teacher who's almost like a parent. And I've stood in front of her for choreographies as a young girl and sometimes just been shredded, and it's fine because I believe that when it comes to art, there must actually, and I'm saying this not because I'm sitting in front of you all, but I truly believe it. Art is much above any of us, and it is almost sacred, and you almost try to attain, you're trying to attain perfection, and you try to go towards that sacred art, and I think that is the journey that is very beautiful. And in that, I believe that you must shed your ego. And when you shed your ego, that is when you truly, truly surrender to the process of it. And I think the process of creating that art is really incredible. And with Sanjay sir, I know a lot has been said about him, and there are so many rumors, but I really do enjoy his process a lot because he pretty much functions like, I would always say, I'm not some star, I'm not some whatever people say about me, they have that impression of me, but that is not me. I'm just a girl standing in front of my director, asking him to direct me and take me on this journey. And it was really that. And once I did that, I found it so exciting and so challenging. And that's the fuel, the challenge of it, And some days I wanted to whack myself and I used to feel that even as a little girl standing in front of my teacher, so it wasn't anger towards her or him, it's more anger at yourself that, they are taking me into this amazing space. And sometimes it is you yourself that, who is unable to break certain barriers and get there. But when you break them and when you get there, it's so exciting, And I think working with him is that, and also, as you said, he's an author and he is a true artist. So whether it's dance, whether it's music, whether it's art direction, whether it's emotion, whether it's, and his heroines especially, I find them very, very layered. People do talk about how beautiful they look or how well they dance and all of the above. But I think the fact that his heroines hold, or that his stories hold, or that people keep going back to them, even with Mani sir, is because there is an emotional connect there. And I think he always tries to find that, and more, I believe he is trying to find that. And while he's doing it in that kind of what is called perfection, I feel he's also trying to break rhythm, but at the same time create it, find the magic, keep it real, and connect. So I found that it's very challenging to work like that because you're doing everything,
So can you give us a specific example? An anecdote, if you will. Yeah.
Okay. So honestly, the scenes for me, maybe because I'm not trained as an actor, so the scenes for me were very, I was able to people talk about 50 takes or whatever, and I would actually, we would do 2 or 3 takes or whatever, and he would be like, no, I'm not going beyond 3 takes for her. But it was the dance that actually I found the most challenging, also because I'm trained in Bharatanatyam. And that body language has been drilled into my system since I was a 5-year-old. And now I have to do Kathak, and I have to do authentic Kathak, but also Kathak of that time, which is actually about this. It's about bhav, because we are Thumri singers, and Thumri, every word of Thumri and every nuance of Thumri is actually a dance, and it's very expressive. And so the way that you sing, you don't lip sync like you sing like you lip sync in Bollywood films. It's it's a very delicate kind of lip sync. So when we're doing the mujra, the dance portion, we started the Heeramandi shoot with the dance, with my dance, the one that's gone viral, that one. And I had actually put on a little bit of weight because he wanted me to, but I didn't want to, but also I had COVID and I just happened to have put on weight. So how people are giving me so much credit for looking a particular way, I'm like, I take no credit for it. It was also Sanjay sir who was like, oh my God, this girl has finally put on weight, because he keeps saying I'm too skinny. And he's like, you are not a L'Oreal model, you are a Tawayef. So I want you to have a little weight on you. And so anyway, so I had this weight on me. We started the mudra, and I think for me that was the most challenging, to get every single beat in place, to get the nuances, to get the hand movement right. And also I thought it was very interesting because dance is looked at as very performative, but here it is not performative, it's more interactive, and it's very, very intimate, because there is a girl there. And he wanted me without any jewelry, with very little makeup, with like almost bare. And there is the Nawab who actually loves this girl very much. And that is a very different kind of narrative that we see, you know, in Heeramandi, which is not the typical Tawayef narrative. And there is actually a kind of a dialogue between the two. And at the same time, though it's very erotic and it's love poetry, Thumri is love poetry, the fact that this girl has, you know, another narrative going on in her life and in her world, something that she longs for, which is freedom. That narrative has to be there kind of throughout, but specifically at the end. In that shot, if you see where, you know, I don't know who has seen it and who has not, but that last shot, he wanted that narrative, he wanted that look in the eyes, that is this love, is this longing for, what freedom is she longing for, you know, and what exactly. So these little nuances I found actually exciting, but also difficult, because to do it in the way that he wants, with every bit in place, but also to keep it really real and palpable, where the girl also has to make you feel that. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
It does.